Hello, my name is Lovely Varghese, mother of Praveen Varghese, 19 years old, who was a sophomore at SIU Carbondale. He wanted to become a police officer and work with FBI later on. He went missing on February 12, 2014 after attending a house party and was found in the woods about 3 miles away from the party 6 days later. According to the conflicting informations we were provided by the police and the other officials, we are still confused. There are some facts we know for sure. There was a man by name Gage Bethune who was a total stranger to Praveen, was the last one to see him alive and admitted to have an altercation with him. A state trooper who saw the truck on the side of the highway and saw Gage coming up from the side of the woods, and even after hearing that Gage offered a ride to a black guy and the black guy tried to rob him, hit him and ran into woods, the trooper did not feel the need to look for the person or make a report. In my view, that would have made a big difference and I wouldn't have to sit here and make this video today. We were given conflicting stories by the police department about the position he was found, the location, and how the police got the tip, which led to the identification of Praveen's body in a very short search. After Praveen was found, the way we were treated raised many questions, and we all had a feeling that something was being covered up. We had to cry and scream for a chance to see Praveen when the county coroner, Dr. Cooper, told us we had to wait till the funeral home of our choice brings him to Chicago to see him. It gave us chills when the police officer said Praveen matched their description and did not need the family to identify him. When we finally got to see him, they covered him up to the neck and just showed his face. Everyone that was with us saw the bruises on his forehead, and when questioned, we were told he was found face down and is frostbite. The next day, we were told he was found on his back and told the whole hypothermia story even before the autopsy. Few hours after he was found, the police chief, whom we never met, he went on the air and announced no foul play and no injury and said the driver came forward on his own. Later on, the deputy chief told us there was a tipper and he gave the driver's name, and that's how they got the driver and found Praveen. A week later, we got a letter from the detective verifying the tipper's name and said he's the one that qualifies for the reward money. When we came to Chicago, the Colonial Funeral Home director, who has been in business for more than 30 years, saw Praveen and prompted us to see him because of all the injuries and the lack of frostbite. After seeing the injuries on Praveen with our own eyes, we decided to do a second autopsy and was done by Dr. Margolis, director of Autopsy Center in Chicago. In his findings, the underlying cause of death is blunt force trauma to the head, and his vitreous fluid and blood was negative for drugs and alcohol and did not have enough urine sample since it was used in the first autopsy. We found out through media and reality check Monica Zukas about the state trooper on the scene, about the phone calls that came into the police department the day Praveen was found, and that clearly showed that the CPD knew what Praveen has beaten but covered all those information from the family. I received a call from Lieutenant Gaddard on April 1st and told me the cause of death was hypothermia and the toxicology was negative and had a small amount of alcohol in urine. On April 3rd, the state coroner, Dr. Cooper, called me and said he was surprised to see the toxicology result and it was negative for drugs and alcohol, and said the urine had 0.049 milligram alcohol, which he explained as postmortem changes. He said Praveen had no injuries and died of hypothermia, and said he would have died immediately due to the freezing temperatures. He told me he missed to do the vitreous fluid and said that is the most accurate for alcohol. I asked him why he missed it if he knew that was so important, and he said his pathologist thought they had enough urine and blood and did not feel the need to take it. He also asked me if we did a second autopsy, and I asked him why he needed that information, and he said if we did one, he wanted to compare them. I thought to myself, if he is so confident in his work, why he wants to see someone else's work. The case was transferred to State Attorney Michael Carr in April 2014, and we learned this from media. I had 2 encounters with Mr. Carr which I initiated. Both times he told me he has compelling evidence that Praveen was drunk and dealing drugs and has text messages as proof. He told me my son was not the model son I thought I had, and he was involved in many illegal activities. He made clear to me that time that he was not going to charge the driver and will not ruin another life. He defended the CPD, state trooper, and Gage Bethune. Since we were not getting any information on the case, we filed lawsuits in August. After multiple FOIA denials, our attorney Charles Steckmeyer appealed to the Attorney General's office, and in response to their inquiry, Mr. Carr wrote, "He's working tirelessly on this case. This is a highly publicized case of an SIU student, and the family has many theories about the death," and said he will come up with a report that will satisfy the requester, the family, and the general public in the near future. 2 weeks ago, Mr. Carr called our lawyer and said he was getting ready to release all the reports by the end of the month. Now we find out he convened a secret grand jury and made a decision not to criminally charge Gage Bethune. It will be an underestimate if I say I am outraged. He has gone above and beyond to justify the actions of Gage Bethune and the state trooper, and used every opportunity to attack Praveen's character and make him a bad boy. In a way, we are relieved that this report is out now. After Mr. Carr pictured Praveen as someone that was involved in illegal activities, we were so afraid that they might plant some drugs in his jeans and say they found it, and thank God we don't have to deal with that now. Instead, he made him a drunk thief, which is way better than for us to handle. I'm trying to respond to some of the reports that Mr. Carr released, which makes us so upset. On the introduction, he says Praveen had minor injuries. The second autopsy shows multiple injuries to his forehead, right forearm, legs, and some have started healing process, which shows Praveen was alive for a while after the injuries. I have one thing to say to Dr. Jacoby. When I get your autopsy report, I expect to see all the bruises and marks I saw on my son's body in the report. Working as a nurse for 25 years in this country, I know the importance of proper assessment and documentation, and I'm aware of the consequences if I don't do my job. The next thing in the report is the items that were found with Praveen. This was the first time we heard about sunglasses. When we left Carbondale, we were given his wallet, keys, and $24 and 3 out of 7 items, and they said they had his phone, clothes, laptop, which was taken from Praveen's apartment, shoes and socks, which concludes the other 4 items. 2 days after Praveen's funeral, we received a text from the detective that they finished the investigation and we could get his belongings that was not provided to us earlier. Since we were advised by some people to have a lawyer handle the belongings, we messaged the detective that we will get it soon, and by the time we got the lawyer, all of a sudden it became evidence and would not give it to us. Half of the evidence is with us and half is with the police department. We are puzzled to know about the sunglasses now, and Mr. Carr is sure that Praveen stole that from the house, and thank you for labeling him as a robber. Going on to Mr. Carr's findings, I also think he probably died of hypothermia. But what made him get to that is the unanswered question. Praveen was a cross-country runner and was in perfect shape. I am 100% sure that his injuries made him physically and mentally disabled. Mr. Carr claims he had 3 experts determine the same cause. He could have 100 experts see that report, and they all will come to the same conclusion because they did not see Praveen and they did not see Dr. Margolis's report. Mr. Carr goes on and on in his report how intoxicated Praveen was. Many times he has reported that Praveen was highly intoxicated. He says witnesses and text messages proves that. Praveen had one 4 Loko according to his friends and also the private investigators report, and that also they are not sure if he finished it since it was sitting on the counter. hates Admiral rum, according to his friends, and they say he might have had one more beer. Our private investigators' report did not say anything about Admiral rum, and that is new news to us. The extent Mr. Carr has gone to describe the alcohol content in Four Loko and to say he has no idea how many beers Praveen had and all is beyond belief. Praveen was a very socially outgoing kid, a typical 19-year-old student. He did not know he was going to die that night. It was like any other nights for him. He must have said and texted things as usual. I want to find out from Mr. Carr if he looked into Gage's status that night on how much he drank and what drugs he was on. All his friends told our private investigators that he was drunk even before he came to the party, and he drank at the party, and Gage himself told that to our private investigator and also admitted to hitting Praveen. Mr. Carr should have looked into the witnesses for Gage, his text and phone messages, to be fair on this, which did not happen as far as I know. If Praveen was that intoxicated as Mr. Carr describes, I want to know why the 10-page report does not mention once about his toxicology report. He conveniently avoided it like many other things. If Praveen was highly intoxicated and died immediately per Dr. Cooper, his toxicology would have been so high. Also, there is no mention where Praveen's phone was found in the report. To show the meeting of Gage at 405 West College, Mr. Carr says Praveen's phone had GPS signals to 405 West College. No witnesses saw him there. My question is why they could not track his phone GPS while he was missing. If they found out where his last phone call came from, they could have found Praveen way sooner. They kept on telling us they could not track his phone, and yet Mr. Carr's reports say they track his phone to the house where Gage was. That is no coincidence to me. Mr. Carr's report says Gage admitted to lying to the state trooper, but yet he says there is nothing suspicious, and the feeling I have after reading the report is Mr. Carr considers Gage as completely trustworthy. It's way easy for him to make Praveen look so bad. Mr. Carr says Gage felt bad since Praveen did not have a jacket and offered the ride, and yet does not think there is a problem when he does not come forward for 6 days. People who know Praveen know he rarely uses jacket. Even in minus degrees in Chicago, he walked around in a hoodie. I'm here to tell Mr. Carr that the assumptions he made about my son are wrong. He was not highly intoxicated. He was not slurring his speech. He tweeted perfectly with no grammar mistake and perfect punctuations. You have no idea how funny Praveen is. Your report itself is contradicting. If Praveen was so intoxicated, he would have stumbled and fallen somewhere and never would have reached that far into the woods. In the report it says Praveen was highly intoxicated when he entered the woods, and then again Mr. Carr says Praveen was conscious and aware of the rugged environment and was taking steps to protect his face. I really don't understand what he is reporting. Maybe my brain is too small to understand his logic. I am stunned to read the report. The extent Mr. Carr has gone to prove Gage is innocent is beyond my belief. When two people are involved and one is not here to tell his side of the story, it's very easy for the state's attorney to believe the other one even after he knows that person has lied many times. I hope Gage Bethune stays out of trouble and does not do something like this to another human being. I am hopeful one day Mr. Carr will realize what he did was wrong and he made this decision without looking at the second autopsy. He could have easily subpoenaed Dr. Margolis. Mr. Carr told me that your guy, meaning Dr. Margolis, is not qualified. He did not want the report, I am sure. Mr. Carr had this conclusion in May when I talked to him. Why did he wait this long to release this? There is nothing new in this report other than what he told me in May except the sunglasses. He convened the secret grand jury and got the verdict he wanted. That's as simple as that. everyone that is involved in Praveen's case, I hope this incident has changed you a little in the way you investigate, in the way you make decisions, and the way you handle human life before and after death. I hope it made you a better person. Dr. Jacoby and Dr. Kofer, please, when you have another body on the table, please remember that is someone's loved one and have truthful to that body. You are the only chance to have some justice for that body. Please handle them with care and professionalism. I truly believe we all have to answer to our Creator one day. We are holding on to our faith and pray that we get some answers one day and will be able to move on with Praveen's beautiful memories. He was a joy to everyone around him. Praveen has become a son, grandson, and brother to many, and that is a big testimony of how he lived his life. At the end, that's all it matters. Live life to the fullest and leave a mark when you leave this world. Until we meet again, love you and miss you, Ava. And just know we will make sure we get justice for you and will let you rest in peace. Justice for Praveen.